What's up, my friends? Welcome to another video. I'm Rob Stuart and I'm here to help you get your skin and your overall health back on track. In today's video, I'm going to be covering the movement, daily habits, and diet and nutrition portion of the Phase 1 2.0 cleansing and detoxification phase. So this will be the last video for Phase 1. Next week, I'll start Phase 2. If you have not already seen the first Phase 1 2.0 video about the cleansing and detoxification schedule, make sure to watch that video and learn that too if you're doing the full 3-phase system. Each part is ultra important. So the key take home for this video is if you ultra focus on the diet and you don't do the daily movement, the daily habits and the movement, and you don't follow the cleansing schedule perfectly, you will get nowhere. This system only works if you do all parts of it equally. A few things to remember before we get into things today. Phase 1 is not a building or anabolic phase. It is the cleansing and detoxification phase. So what we're trying to do with the diet and with the cleansing and detoxification schedule and with the daily habits and the movement is we're trying to elicit autophagy in cleansing and detoxification. So it's going to be more of a catabolic phase. You will struggle to get enough calories on this approach, and that's on purpose. Do your best. Don't worry about losing a little bit of weight during this time. And like I said, you have to watch the Phase 1 video that explains how long to stay in Phase 1. That's an ultra important part. If you don't have the weight to lose, you will only be doing this schedule for 2 weeks. If you have a ton of weight to lose, you will be doing Phase 1 for up to 2 months. So make sure you're clear on that. Go see the first video for Phase 1 to get clear. All right, let's get to this. The daily habits and movement schedule. Now, these are to be done as listed. Now, why do we do these daily habits? They open the pathways of elimination and they allow the autophagy and cleansing to actually go as deep as it's needed to be gotten. If you slack on these daily habits or the movement schedule, you won't get anything out of Phase 1, period. You have to master these things. These 5 things, these 5 daily habits, you actually have to get really good at them. You have to master them. And I'm being kind of serious because this is real. Phase 1 doesn't work for some people because not everyone's serious enough to take it on with discipline and vigor. To heal your skin, you're going to need to be very serious. Well, you don't have to be too serious. You can laugh and have a good time, but you're gonna have to master these things and you're gonna have to put your work in to get the results out of it. I will stop rambling. So number 1, the first thing that you will be doing daily is the eczema healing yoga sequence. This is the yoga sequence and how you do it. So the eczema healing yoga sequence or the skin disease fighting yoga sequence can be found at holistichealthactivation.com, the 3 phases workbook. I'm going to go over it right now. So the routine is crescent lunge, down dog, warrior 2, triangle, dancer, cobra, seated twist, bridge, legs up the wall. And there are a couple different ways to do it. For all of the details and the step-by-step guide, just grab the book. It's all in there. But here is the sequence in order. First, we're going to start off with crescent lunge. And it's very simple pose. So pose 1 is crescent lunge. From there, you're going to move on to down dog. Then from there, you're going to move on to warrior 2, Virabhadrasana 2. Then from there, Trikonasana, also known as triangle pose. Next, we're going to do Natranasana, dancer pose. With all of these poses, it's not about doing them as hard as you can. It's about getting into the position and breathing and being as consistent and comfortable as possible. That's the true key to yoga. Controlling the breath, combining them with the movements in a very deliberate way. This isn't weightlifting.
we're not pressing. So you want to be very smooth with it. You can also just do each pose in a very gentle way for about 30 seconds to a minute and repeat this sequence as many times as you want. So the next pose is Cobra pose, aka Bhujanasana. Next pose, seated twist. Very simple, straightforward. And our next pose is bridge pose, and that's what it looks like. And last pose is legs up the wall. Simply do these in order. Take your time. Last pose is child's pose, and that wraps it up. Super, super easy. It's a restorative based, very alignment oriented yoga sequence. Good luck with it.
Number 2, this is what you will also be doing every single day. Some form of cold exposure, and with that cold exposure, some bit of breath work. You can do the Wim Hof breath, you can do fire breath, you can do Ujjayi pranayama. I'm going to leave that up to you guys to either get it out of the workbook or find something that works for you. The breath work is not the focus. Cold exposure, it can be done in a cold shower. You can fill up your tub with cold water and throw ice in it. You can find a cold lake. As much of it as you can handle daily, do. A lot would be spending a full Wim Hof session per day going at it. The lower amount that you can get away with is spending a minute or 2 daily underneath your cold shower. You will get some added benefit from the cold exposure if you mix it with cold then hot, then cold then hot. Going back and forth is awesome for the nervous system. It's awesome for the lymphatic system. Make sure you're getting your cold exposure in daily, people. Now, number 3, this isn't to be done daily. This is to be done on a weekly schedule. Some form of progressive resistance training. This needs to be organized. This needs to be an actual program. You can get away with 3 days a week with your resistance training. I think the more you do the resistance training, the more it makes this entire phase 1 powerful. And for those of you who are not looking to lose a ton of weight during phase 1, you're going to have to keep your calories as high as you possibly can. And I'll get into some tricks on how to do that when we get to the diet and nutrition portion. But the resistance training will be your best friend. Deadlift, squat, bench press, overhead press, and pull-ups, and some type of rowing. If you master those things in your weekly resistance training, you will gain muscle and you will get all the health benefits that resistance training provides for the skin disease sufferer. Moving on, every single day, you've got to hang. That just means getting up on some type of pull-up bar, gymnastics rings, a rope, whatever, and just grab onto it and hang. This is an amazing hack for the human body. It absolutely regenerates our upper body, our shoulders. It opens up our spine. It opens up our upper back. It's also great for digestion. Like a t-shirt, what you pull on down here affects up here. So as we alleviate stress, open up and decompress the upper back, so does that happen all the way down into our sacrum and into our digestive tract. So we're taking a holistic approach to this. This is also an awesome de-stressing mechanism. It's going to open up the pathways of elimination. This one can be done, I would do like 2 to 3 rounds per day of as long as you can hold. Now, there's 2 types of holds, and I'll get into this more in the book, but right now, the easiest one to do is a passive hold. This is when you allow your shoulders to come up and you just hang however you can. You don't have to involve your shoulders down and do a strict non-passive hold. You can get to that later. Just hang and hang. Can you hang with that? And number 5, this one's the easiest one to do. I have a couple videos on how to dry brush. It's quite simple. Dry brush daily. It is an awesome technique. It exfoliates. It actually brings moisturization naturally back into the skin, and it moves the lymphatic system. Really, really awesome. So, all right, now that we're through the daily habits and movement, that is it. So it's 4 daily things, number 1, 2, 4, and 5, and 1 weekly resistance training program. That's going to be your daily habits and movement for phase 1. Okay, so the diet and nutrition portion for phase 1 is absolutely as straightforward as it possibly gets. As I said in the beginning of the video, this is not a phase for building and gaining weight. It's a catabolic phase on purpose. So the food choices are limited. and their food choices are very specific for what they do in the body. For those of you who need alternatives to these foods, please ask below in the comment section if you have a specific food that I don't give an alternative for. For the ones that have alternatives, I will give one. Some of them, there's no alternative, and if you can't eat that food or you don't like that food, then just skip it and focus on the other stuff. All right, so food number one, as you could guess, is bone broth. The best alternative for bone broth is veggie broth, and it is not the best alternative. It will do nothing compared to what bone broth can do as far as amino acids, omegas, and usable fats and collagen, all the skin building foods. But that is the alternative for those of you who are vegan for moral purposes. A veggie broth is pretty straightforward to make, lots of recipes online. For bone broth, I don't care which type of bone broth you create. In my opinion, the easiest is to use beef bone broth. My recipe is about as straightforward as it gets. Buy the bones from the butcher, as many of them as you can afford. Throw them in as big a cooking vessel as you can afford. Pour clean water over those bones, add a whole ton of salt, add a few carrots, add a few celery sticks, and let that boil for like a day and a half, period. What's left over is some delicious, wonderful bone broth, and it will be super powerful and super bomb. The less water you use, the more thick and rich it will be. That's my literal method, and it's really that easy. If you want more fancy stuff, you can look at other recipes online. I like to be as minimal and straightforward as possible. The taste of the bone broth will be brought out by how slow and long you cook it, and by adding some delicious salt and a little goat butter to it. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Also, the question will probably be, Rob, can I buy bone broth at the store? And you most certainly can. Just look out for certain ingredients like apple cider vinegar. You don't want that stuff in phase one or in your diet at all when you're trying to heal your gut. Also, if your bone broth that you're going to buy at the store has spicy ingredients like too much black pepper, cayenne, paprika, pretty much any other spices besides salt, it's not going to heal your gut, and it will be way too registic, which means heat producing and activity producing, for it to do what we need it to do. So if you can't find some ultra basic, mostly bones only broth, make your own. It's super easy. Add water, add salt, boil it. It's seriously easy. Number two, celery juice. And question is, how much of these foods do you eat per day? And I'll get to that kind of at the end. But with the celery juice, super straightforward. Watch my video. I have two different recipes, a juicer recipe and a smoothie blender recipe. I think with the celery juice, you don't need to be drinking a ton of it. A little bit every day goes a long way. What I would do is I would juice anywhere from a quarter or a half a stalk of celery per day, and I would use that as my minimum for celery juice. Next thing that's on the diet is leafy greens, and here we are not talking about kale, and we're not talking about spinach, and we're not talking about rainbow chard. We're not talking about anything except lettuce varieties, sweet, simple lettuce varieties. Green leaf lettuce, red leaf lettuce, romaine, iceberg, butter lettuce, the basic, super easy to digest stuff. I suggest with your greens and your celery juice, obviously celery juice is juice, but with your greens, juice it, blend it. Eating big salads, although in the raw vegan community it's a very popular cleansing mechanism and gut health thing, most of the people I work with poop out their salads whole, which means that it's actually very destructive to your digestion. Make green juice. It's more powerful. It's better for phase one. Moving on, turmeric lemonade. Do you guys know what I'm about by now? Hopefully. The turmeric lemonade recipe that I created is super simple. It's turmeric, it's lemons, and it's water. I go over it in several videos. I do have a turmeric lemonade recipe video, so check it out. The alternative for turmeric lemonade, lemon water. So for those of you who have problems with turmeric, take it out. Just do lemons and water. For those of you who have problems with citrus, lemons, then just do turmeric. And if you obviously have problems with both lemon and turmeric, then neither will work, and you just need to skip the drink. Moving on, berries. Be conservative with your berries, especially if you're a person that eats berries and they cause you to have sloppy bowel movements. Berries are good with the antioxidants for this phase, but we're not trying to eat, a pound of berries a day. Berries, look at this as more of a snack food or more of a type of intervention for antioxidants and the type of fiber that will clean your ass out. Don't focus on the berries. Don't focus on the berries. Don't focus on the berries. We're trying to get our calories from the bone broth, and we're trying to get our calories from the goat butter, MCT, or tallow. Moving on. SK stands for sauerkraut. For most of you, eating a bunch of sauerkraut will probably make you feel like shit because it'll blow and for most of you. We're not looking for that. If you eat the full sauerkraut and it does some digestional weirdness to you, then simply drink the juice. A little bit per day goes a long ways. 2 big gulps of sauerkraut juice per day is all that you need. Keep it that simple. Don't mess with the system. Moving on. Now here's the most controversial one and the newest part of how to do phase 1 correctly. Now, we are not trying to inundate the body with high glycemic carbohydrates, as you can see. And so what that allows for the body to do is not overburdened with the calories. The macros aren't super important, but we don't want the body, if it's been kind of fat-based or keto-based, to get too far away from that fat-burning source. Also, when we use fat sources during phase 1 for autophagy, it really does bind to toxins. And with the cleansing and detoxification, and with the daily habits and the movement, the fats that bind to the toxins come out of the open pathways of elimination so much easier. So if you have a weird dairy intolerance, then obviously you want to do the MCT or the tallow. But for many of my clients these days, and I will be doing a full-length video about this, the goat butter is working awesome. Most of my lactose intolerant or dairy issue people are having no issue with goat butter, especially if you're getting it local, especially if you're eating it raw, especially if you're making it into ghee. Awesome stuff. You can do as much goat butter as you want. On phase 1, if I go through it, I'm going to do 1,200, 1,500 calories per day of butter alone. And all the rest of this is going to be looked at as medicine. Calories are going to come from the fat. All of the rest of this is medicine, in my opinion. You will get a few calories and proteins and amino acids from the bone broth. The bone broth mixed with the goat butter is the way to go to ride out this entire phase 1 system. For those of you who can't use the goat butter, MCT will work and tallow will work. You have to render it. You either have to get it in oil form or you have to just eat it tallow to get your calories. If you don't get enough calories, you will feel extra shitty. For some of you, phase 1, if you have weight to lose, you're going to feel great. For some of you, phase 1, if you have no weight to lose, could feel a little bit bad. But it will only feel bad if you're super undercutting the calories and you're not doing the cleansing and other things. Now, the one optional thing that I put on this, and this one is optional, and I think this was actually somewhat dangerous. It's actually not dangerous at all. I don't know why I said that. But squash, for those of you who don't handle goat butter, aren't going to be able to do enough MCT or tallow to get the calories in, don't let your calories get too low. Have some squash, spaghetti squash, acorn squash. The squash variety works great. Don't use potatoes for this. Sweet potatoes aren't squash, they're potatoes. This is optional, and don't do it if you don't need to. Rely upon the butter and the bone broth to drive home the calories. Now, to round things out for phase 1, you're going to be suggested to take 2 supplements. One is Triphala, which is a tridoshic Ayurvedic herb that it improves the digestion so quickly and so readily for both people who are constipated and for people who have loose bowels. So get on Triphala, get on it daily. Also, this is the first basically supplement that I'm promoting, and I'm almost to the point where I'm fully promoting it because there's got to be some probiotic nature to this besides the sauerkraut. And they're what I recommend to get your probiotics during phase 1. They're super easy. You pop 1 per day and you're good to go. That's it. That's the entire diet. That's the entire movement and daily habit schedule. Now, I'm sure you guys might have a lot of questions, so please leave them down below. And I want to leave you guys with a few key things. Obviously, if you need to screenshot this, screenshot it. If you need to rewind the video, please do. Remember, all of this will be on the 3-phase workbook that will come out once all the videos have been published. For all people, you can go right now to holistichealthactivation.com and buy the 3 phases workbook where I teach this. It's the old version. It works really well. Whoever buys the old version, whoever buys the new version, will always get an updated version of the 3-phase system for free. So if you don't feel like waiting and you just want to get going and the videos aren't coming out fast enough for you, can't be patient, then go and get it right now. And when it is published, then I'll send you a free copy. Again, guys, leave all of your comments and questions below. There might be a lot. If you need some different ideas for food choices that I haven't covered, be specific with what you're talking about, and I'll do my best to give you an alternative. There may not be an alternative though, so you may have to just stick with an ultra minimal diet for the length of your phase 1, which is really beneficial anyway. For those of you looking to get a hold of me to become a private client, for you to be led through this entire process by me so you don't have to do the work, there's a link in the description box for that. You can find me on, what is it, Instagram? Yeah, it is Instagram. You can find me on Instagram as Stuart, Rob Stuart. In real life, I'm just Rob Stuart. If you're new to this channel, remember to subscribe and share. If you're old to this channel, remember to hit the notification bell. The next videos will be out next week, and I'll start to cover phase 2. I think there might be only 1 or 2 videos for that, so we'll get through it probably in a week or 2, and then on to phase 3, which is super easy now and super straightforward. Guys, let me know if these videos are clear. If you've watched the first phase 1 video and this one, are they making sense? The feedback I've gotten back so far is that it does. If not, leave a comment in the question. Leave a question in the comment box, and I will try to work things out with you. Have a good one. Bye.